All right, let's get right into it. We all know diet is a huge piece of the puzzle when it comes to changing your body. But, and this is a big but, if you're serious about body recomposition, that holy grail of building muscle and losing fat at the same time, the real engine, the thing that actually drives the change, that all happens in the weight room. So let's dive in. Man, I love this quote. It just sets the perfect stage, doesn't it? The idea that your training isn't just, lifting things up and putting them down. It's a story. It's the story of your effort, your consistency, and ultimately, your transformation. Every single rep, every set, that's a new line in your story. And this right here, this analogy just nails it. Think about it. If body recomp is a car, sure, nutrition is the fuel. You absolutely need it. But training? Training is the engine. You can put the best, most expensive fuel in the world into a car, but if that engine is off, well, you're not going anywhere, are you? The food allows the growth to happen, but the training itself is what sparks it. Okay, so if training is our engine, what's the one thing that makes it run stronger and better over time? Well, it all boils down to one simple, non-negotiable principle: progressive overload. Seriously, this is the bedrock. This is the foundation that all muscle growth is built on. So what does that actually mean, in simple terms? It just means that for your muscles to grow, you have to keep giving them a reason to. You have to challenge them with a little more stress than they're used to. See, your body is an adaptation machine. It's not going to change unless you give it a really compelling reason to. Progressive overload is that reason. And what's cool is how you can apply this challenge. It's not just about, slapping more plates on the bar, though, hey, that's a great way to do it. You can also add more reps with the same weight. You could add another set to your workout. You can even just focus on perfecting your form. That's a huge one. Or maybe slowing down the rep to increase the time that muscle is working. There's so many paths to progress. But here's the thing, and this is absolutely crucial. Quality has to come before quantity. Just adding more weight to the bar by using a bunch of momentum or cutting your range of motion short, that's not real progressive overload. The goal isn't just to move a weight from point A to point B. The goal is to make the muscle work harder. All right, let's build on that with our first big pillar: training volume. If progressive overload is the signal to grow, then you can think of volume as the architectural blueprint. It's what determines the scale of that growth. It's pretty much the total amount of work you're doing. Which, of course, leads to the million-dollar question: is more always better? I mean, if a little bit of volume is good, then a ton of volume must be amazing, right? Well, it's not quite that simple. The real science shows that the relationship between how much you train and how much you grow is a little more nuanced than that. So instead of just chasing more, we need to find our own personal sweet spot. Think of it like a spectrum. On one end, you have your maintenance volume, just enough to not lose muscle. Go a little past that and you hit your minimum effective dose, the least you can do to see some growth. But if you push it too far, you'll go past your maximum recoverable volume, and that's when you start to burn out and even go backwards. The magic happens right in the middle, in that maximum adaptive volume zone. That's where you're getting the best possible gains without outpacing your body's ability to recover and rebuild. So, for most of us, where is that sweet spot? Well, the research and, frankly, tons of real-world evidence all point to this range, somewhere between 10 to 20 hard working sets for each muscle group spread out over the week. It's a fantastic, evidence-based starting point to work from. Okay, we've got our foundation and our blueprint. Now let's talk about the actual building materials, the quality of each and every rep. This really comes down to the exercises you choose, how hard you're actually pushing yourself, and the rep ranges you're working in. And let's be clear, not all exercises are created equal. A solid program needs a healthy mix of both of these types. Compound movements, your squats, your bench presses, your rows, these are the bread and butter. They're super efficient and build a really powerful base. But then you have isolation exercises, like bicep curls or leg extensions, and they're fantastic for zeroing in on specific muscles, maybe bringing up a weak point and just adding that extra bit of targeted volume. Now this is so important. You can have the most perfectly designed program on paper, but if you're just kind of going through the motions in the gym, you're leaving so many gains on the table. To actually stimulate growth, you need intensity. That means pushing yourself close to failure where those last couple of reps are a real, genuine struggle. That's where the magic happens. So where should most of this hard work be happening? Well, truth is, you can build muscle in pretty much any rep range if you train hard enough. But right here, the 6 to 15 rep range, this is what we can call the practical hypertrophy zone. It's really the most efficient blend. The weight is heavy enough to be a great stimulus, but the volume is high enough to get that growth signal, all without the higher injury risk of super heavy lifting or the crazy fatigue of super high rep sets. So a really good rule of thumb is to have the bulk of your work, maybe around 75% or so, fall right into that 6 to 15 rep sweet spot. But that doesn't mean you should only do that. Oh no. There's absolutely a place for heavy, pure strength work in those lower rep ranges, and there's a place for that high rep, pump-focused work too. A truly complete program is going to use the full spectrum. And that brings us to our final pillar, smart scheduling. This is all about the how often, right? How do we organize our training week to get the most out of recovery and those growth signals? This all comes down to what we call training frequency. You know that old school bro split where you hit chest on Monday and then you don't touch it again for a whole week? Look, it can work. People have built muscle that way. But the science on this is pretty darn clear at this point. Training a muscle group twice a week is just plain better for muscle growth. It makes sense, right? You're giving that muscle 2 growth signals throughout the week instead of just 1.
And here are just a few really popular, really effective ways you can set up your week to get that higher frequency. You could do an upper-lower split, you could do a push-pull legs rotation, or you could even do full body sessions a few times a week. The point is, all of these are great ways to make sure you're hitting each muscle at least twice a week.
Okay, So we've covered the foundation, progressive overload, and our 3 big pillars for effective training. Let's wrap this all up and put it together into a simple, actionable blueprint you can actually use. This is it. This is the whole playbook right here. Number 1, the foundation. You have to consistently apply progressive overload. Number 2, our first pillar, volume. Aim for that 10 to 20 high-quality sets per muscle per week. Number 3, execution. Make compound lifts your priority and train hard, mostly in that 6 to 15 rep range. And finally, number 4, frequency. Make sure you're training each muscle group at least twice a week. If you're doing all of that, you are giving your body every single reason it needs to build muscle and achieve that recomp. And that brings us right back to where we started. Every workout, every choice you make in that gym, it's another word on the page of your story. The principles we just went over, that's just the grammar, the structure. So the only question left to ask is, what kind of story are you gonna write?